Hey guys, it is Miss Sabrina. I am outside enjoying some fresh air. I hope you guys are enjoying your time at home and you're staying healthy. And we are now in our 8th day of Positive Potential Remix. We have a really exciting day planned for you. Let's get started with a quick review of our last session. In the split decision video, who remembers one of the struggles that Chris and Chloe had to face? Do they go to the party or not? They do go to the party, and on the left side of the screen, they stay at the party, and on the right side of the screen, they leave the party. That's just one of the struggles that they have to face. Do they have sex or wait? That is another struggle they have to face. On the left side of the screen, we can see them make the decision to have sex. On the right side of the screen, they decide to wait until they are married. How did the choices they made on the left side of the screen affect their future? Well, the first thing that happens is they end up having a teenage pregnancy. And because of that, they have a struggle in their relationship and a struggle to provide for their baby and a struggle to finish school. On the right side of the screen, we see them making healthy choices that in turn affect their lives to create a positive future. We see them having a planned pregnancy after marriage. They're able to finish school, start a career, and have the means to provide for a family. We also discussed some facts regarding STIs. The percentage of teen girls that have an STI is 25%, or 1 in 4. An STI can be passed if there are not any symptoms or if a person doesn't know they have it. The most common STI in America is HPV, and the most common STI among teens is chlamydia. The only way to 100% guarantee that you will not contract an STI or become pregnant is by practicing abstinence and not having sex. Among teens, there is a connection between sexual activity and drugs and alcohol. 25% of teens report using drugs or alcohol before the last time that they had sex. At the end of our last session, we asked you guys to come up with 3 reasons why you may want to practice abstinence. I hope that you guys are able to consider those 3 reasons as we continue throughout our lessons.
Welcome to High Time Talk Show with today's episode entitled What Goes Around Comes Around. I will be your host today, and we hope that today's topic challenges you as we experience the lives of 6 different high school students and their intertwining relationships. So let's get started. Please give a warm welcome to our first guest, Kevin. Hi, Kevin. Thanks for being with us today. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about yourself?
Yo, what up? My name is Kevin, and I'm dating Lindsay, and we've been together for like 2 months, and we are ready to have sex. Lindsay's a virgin, and she's gonna go on the pill for protection, and I'm glad because I'm not ready to be a father. I'll be the first, and I wanna make it a special experience that she'll never forget. I only had sex with one other person. I had sex with my last girlfriend, Haley, and that was over 6 months ago.
Let's all welcome Haley to the show. Thanks for joining us today, Haley. So, we just talked to Kevin. Would you share with us about your relationship with Kevin?
Hey there, I'm Haley, and I went out with Kevin 6 months ago. Kevin and I didn't go out for very long. I thought it was going to last forever at the time. That's why I decided to have sex. After I did, he just kind of seemed to lose interest. I knew it was his first time, and he knew I had sex before with my ex, Cameron. Cameron is much older than me. We dated for a while before Kevin came along. I was trying to get Cameron back by dating Kevin. Cameron turned my whole world upside down.
Wow. Cameron, who turned Haley's world upside down. Come on down and join us. Thanks for being with us today, Cameron. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about yourself?
What's up? I'm Cameron. Haley and I were together for a few months, and she was so easy to please. All my girls are easy to please. My smooth moves have all of them lining up just to get with me. I got bored with Haley and told I had to move on to better things. That's when I met Tori. She is something special, let me tell you. I knew she would keep me entertained for a while.
Well, let's go ahead and welcome Tori to the show. Thanks for joining us today. So tell us all about you and Cameron.
Hello, I'm Tori. Cameron and I knew each other when he was in high school. Cameron was the best thing that ever happened to me. It didn't even matter that he got drunk and wouldn't take me home when I asked him to. I didn't care how he acted as long as he wanted to be with me. I knew he wanted to have sex, and I wanted our first time to be very special, but he was drunk. I didn't want the night to end that way, and I tried to say no, but I found out that you can't tell Cameron no when he's drunk. I mean, I never said no to Brandon either.
Well, this really seems to be turning out to be quite an interesting story. Let's all welcome Brandon to the stage. Why don't you share with us about yourself and your current relationship status?
Hey guys, I'm Brandon. I'm not the type of guy that dates girls just to see what I can get. I'm fully aware that things can happen when you don't even plan them. About 6 months ago, I was at this party with some of my friends. Everybody was into something: alcohol, drugs, sex, you name it. My friends and I were so messed up that night. I don't really know what happened. I do know that Haley was wasted and all over me. She definitely knew what she wanted. Well, to cut a long story short, about 2 months ago, I started having flu-like symptoms and was tired a lot. A few days after that, I started getting blisters in my genital area. I went to the doctor, had some tests done, and found out that I have herpes. I really tried to convince myself that it had nothing to do with that night. But just to be on the safe side, I decided to settle down and commit myself to Kim. Just Kim. I thought it might be Tori, but she's too clingy. Kim's the one for me.
So, Kim is your girl now, not Haley from the party or Tori? Very interesting, Brandon. Thank you. We just have one last person to meet. Let's welcome Lindsay to the stage. Hi, Lindsay. Now, you're Kevin's current girlfriend, right?
Yeah, I'm Lindsay, and I'm dating Kevin. I'm so in love with Kevin. I know we will be together forever. Kevin told me that he had only had sex with one other person. Haley and I know each other. She's cool, but I didn't realize that I would feel so hurt by the fact that I will not be Kevin's first. Kevin knows I have never had sex, and we've been talking about him being my first. I want my first experience to be special, but not like this. I've come to the conclusion that we should rethink this whole sex thing and maybe even our relationship. I have had enough to worry about without having to be concerned about being infected with an STI, especially herpes. I've decided to abstain from sex until I get married. So if he wants to have sex with me, he's just going to have to wait until then. My life is way too important.
Well, I can see we are going to have a lot to work through. Thanks for being with us today, Lindsay, Kevin, Haley, Tori, Brandon, and Cameron. And thank you for joining us today on High Times. We'll see you next time.
The scenario that just took place can be seen throughout schools all over the United States. There is no doubt that some dating relationships are a result of teens wanting to belong, feel loved, or to be a part of the crowd. Then there is the media that increases the idea that in dating relationships, sexual activity is the standard. But think for a moment, what are some of the results to the different relationships in the stories we just heard? Does sex go without consequences? Let's take a look at how all of our guests are connected in one way or another. When you look up at the screen, you can see the different connections between our characters. The solid lines are a direct connection, meaning the two people had a sexual relationship. The white line means that the two people are dating but have not been sexually active. The dotted line represents indirect connection to someone, meaning a sexual partner could be carrying an STI because of their involvement sexually in a previous relationship. For example, if you take a look at this exposure chart, it gives you an idea of how this works. Let's say this one person represents you, and you have never been sexually active. You decide to have sex with one other person who also hasn't been sexually active. If each of you has only been sexually active with each other, and you've never been with anyone else, how many people have you exposed yourself to? Well, that answer would be you've exposed yourself to one person. If one person has sex with one other person, they are only exposing themselves or having sex with that one person. Have you exposed yourself to an STI? At this point, you have not exposed yourself to any STIs. So, let's imagine that between now and graduation, you have had one sexual partner each year. So you have one sexual partner a year for the next 5 years. How many partners will you have? That answer would be 5. The thing you have to keep in mind is that there is a big difference between calculating how many sexual partners you've had versus how many people you've been exposed to. For example, earlier we mentioned that some of our characters were connected to each other indirectly, which was indicated by the dotted line. When it comes to indirect connection, one thing to keep in mind is that when you have sex with someone, you're not just having sex with that one person, but you're also exposing yourself to anyone they have ever had sex with in the past. In fact, C. Everett Koop, the former U.S. Surgeon General, said, "When you have sex with someone, you are having sex with everyone they have had sex with for the last 10 years. And everyone they and their partners have had sex with for the last 10 years. So, if you have had 5 sexual partners over the next 5 years, then you would also assume that those 5 people probably did the same thing. So if everyone involved had one sexual partner a year, that means that over the next 5 years that you would have exposed yourself to 31 people. Because you have to remember that when you have sex with someone, it's like you are having sex with every other person they have ever been with in the last 10 years. So, now let's imagine that instead of having one sexual partner, you've had 2 sexual partners in a year for the next 5 years. How many partners have you had? Well, that answer would be 10. If every one of those 10 people also had 10 sexual partners, that means that over the next 5 years, you will have exposed yourself to 1,023 people through indirect connection. Let's look back at our characters. Who has the STI? As we can remember in our skit, Brandon was the character who had the STI. How many of the other characters are infected? We don't know. Who should get tested? Well, everyone that has been sexually active except for Lindsay. If Lindsay were to have sex with Kevin, would she have anything to worry about? Yes, Lindsay would, because Brandon has been with Haley, who has been with Kevin. Would you say that from a health perspective, Lindsay is making a good choice? Of course, because she's avoiding the possible risk of coming in contact with an STI. At this point, Kevin could possibly be infected from a previous relationship. From just a health perspective alone, we could probably all agree that Lindsay is making a healthy decision.
Hey everybody, it's Jeremiah here, just wanting to say hello. It's been a long time since we've been with you guys, but I just wanted to say that I'm excited about the opportunity for us to bring you this information. Not only that, but I want to encourage you to go out there and do something creative. Be your best self. Do what you can to make the best of this situation. I know the situation isn't ideal, but you have an opportunity to do great and amazing things. So I want you guys to encourage one another, be strong, be strengthened, and we just want to make sure that you be your best self. Talk to you soon.
As we talk with teens, we often hear them share similar experiences as we've just heard from our guests on High Times. If you remember, Haley expressed how she had felt her relationship with Kevin was going to last forever. She said that's actually why she decided to have sex with him. However, what happened not long after they had sex? Well, Kevin broke up with her. In fact, according to statistics, 98% of middle and high school relationships don't last. Unfortunately, many times we hear things like, my boyfriend or girlfriend and I had sex and then we broke up. I still want us to be together because I'm still in love with them. A lot of times they even express their emotional hurt or disappointment and regret over the choice they made. Statistics tell us that over 66% of teen girls who were sexually active wished that they had waited longer. So in Lindsay's case, she decided that she doesn't want to have any regrets and doesn't want to run the risk of contracting an STI and possibly dealing with those consequences for the rest of her life. Earlier, we'd mentioned the direct and indirect connections through sexual activity. So we're going to take a closer look at how this happens. Now, normally at this point, I would ask for 6 volunteers. I would have 3 guys and 3 girls come up and help me with this next demonstration. But because we can't all be together, I'm going to explain exactly how it would go. Now, I would actually give all 6 volunteers 1 piece of packing tape. And then I would ask them to actually put that tape on their arm, sticky side down, and on the count of 3, I would have you rip it off your arm. In doing so, they would find out that on that tape would be hair, skin cells, maybe some lotion, DNA. Then I would have them pick a partner of the opposite sex and trade tape. They would put their piece of tape on their arm and then rip the tape off their arm once again. Then I would again ask them to trade with someone different, stick their tape lengthwise on their arm, and then once again rip it off. Finally, I would say choose the person you have not traded tape with and put that tape on your arm and once again rip it off. After this demonstration is completed, I would have them look at the 2 pieces of tape and have them draw comparisons from the tape that they originally had to the tape that they have now. Now, looking at these 2 pieces of tape, do you think everybody's DNA is represented? Probably. Did the girls exchange tape with other girls? No. Did the boys exchange tape with the other boys? No. Did every single person up here come into contact with each other? Yes. So how did that happen? Well, it happened through indirect connection. You see, direct connection happened each time the girls exchanged tape with the boys and vice versa. Indirect connection happened as a result of multiple exchanges in general. Although the boys did not trade tape with the boys, they still came into contact with each other. Although the girls did not trade tape with the girls, they still came into contact with each other. This is a great example of how indirect connection works. Everyone there, although they didn't trade tape with every single person, would have come into contact with every single person through indirect connection. This is why when it comes to sexual activity, you have to factor into the equation a person's past sexual partners. When you have sex with someone, you're essentially also coming into contact with that person's previous sexual partners through indirect connection. If a person has had multiple sexual partners in their past, there's a greater risk for STIs that could be brought into a current sexual relationship. Now, do you think that sexual activity before marriage could affect your relationships and your future marriage? Why or why not? We'd probably say yes because you're bringing your past relationships, your hurt, even STIs into the current relationship. One thing to keep in mind is that among teenage relationships, oftentimes the perception is that being sexually active will create a stronger relationship and a greater bond between the 2 people. Unfortunately, in most cases, the opposite is true. Consider how sexual activity can affect the 5 parts of the whole person, as well as your future relationships. Sex can be a wonderful part of life because of the intimacy that it can create. At the same point in time, the negative consequences that can result from having multiple sexual partners can affect not only you, but also your relationships. Sex with one person helps create a strong, healthy bond that can last a lifetime. Choosing to delay sexual activity for the time being, and even choosing to have sex with one person for life can seriously benefit you now and in the future.
Hey everyone, it's Miss Ann here, and today I'll be doing the Session 8 Transition in Charge with you. Let's go ahead and get started.
Hello everyone, this is Miss Ann, and today I'm here to talk to you about Session 8's Transition in Charge. We have the opportunity to see how engaging in sexual activity with multiple partners can increase the risk for STIs. We also saw how sexual activity can create a bond between two people that can result in a tremendous amount of pain when torn apart. So for your charge today, for Session 8, we ask that you take a moment to reflect on your own life. What is the best way to protect yourself from pregnancy and STIs and STDs? Who is a trusted adult you can talk to about the sexual choices you make? We will discuss these questions during our next review. So, have a great week till we meet again and continue to make healthy choices. See you next week.